By it were right cold with that night. Our Josh and our Luke and Miss Em were at Witch Sheep, and it were miserable. Thick as snow and a lazy wind. Taken us best part of an hour it had to set a fire. Then when we did there wasn't much kindling about, and we'd all on to stop it for going out. It were never right easy like being up there with our Josh. He were never the same after his missus died of childbirth, and they lost bairn and all. He never wept for 'em. It's not right in that. Any road. He were telling a tale where our Josh as he's heard from up Dale about how soldiers had come and rounded folk up for the census. I said I weren't going on it, me. I've a cousin come from away and he shouldn't be here by right, so I says to him, get this sent up to the city and make out as you're me. They'll not know the difference, as if they cared out for shepherd folk. Oh, I know well enough to think we know what they do. Think we're all rogues. What I say is, we're no worse nor anybody else, and a sight better nor them as look down on us. Now then, if I've told this tale once, I've told it 100 times, and I still can't reckon it up, miss Hen, so you mun make what you like on it. We'd been sat there a couple of hours, getting on for midnight it was, and it were right dark, no but a glimmer of moonlight. That's how it started out, any road. So we were sat round, and it were our Luke who says first off, he says, it's bright as yon moon to say it's last quarter. Nobody else said out. Not seen that before, he says. Then our Josh, like he does, you know, he says, don't be so daft. All this happens, that does this time of year. When you've been out in these fields many years I have, lad, you'll see all sorts. There's no to surprise me. Have you ever noticed when our folk go on like that, it generally falls out if somewhat happens to take 'em down a peg or two? Well, it did that night. Not but a minute later and our Luke says, I swear it's getting brighter. Josh didn't say out this time. Well, he couldn't very well, because it were obvious as our Luke were right. And all of a sudden, we must all have felt somewhat at the same time, we stood up, all three on us. You know what it's like when you're awake and you think you're dreaming? Well, it went out like that. I swear as true as I'm sat here, there were a load of folk saw somewhat that night, and it's not all as'll admit to it. Now, as to what we saw, now that depends on who you talk to. Old Sam, as lived up Dalehead, says he saw like a cloud, and maybe figures in it happened. Our Luke reckons on as he saw an angel, and I believe him. Benny Willis, him as in one next door lower, he reckons he saw a whole flock of 'em, but then he would. So now you're saying, well, what did I see? Aye. Well, I reckon as how there's something in this world, and out of it you're better off not trying to put into words, because you'll not frame to get it right, says they. Whatever. All them as saw it'll tell you the same tale, that it was most beautiful. More beautiful than any man ever has seen and heard nor will again. Glory it was. Glory. And then it were all dark again. I must have been stood a minute, and I just shook my head. And our Josh says, what's up with thee? You know, it took us a moment to reckon up what he was saying. And I says to him, didn't you see it? See what he says? Nay, I says. Yon fella, says Luke, and all rest on him. Angel, didn't you see it? Oh, them, he says. You get a lot of them this time of year. And he turns to me and he says, how much has he had? I says, you didn't see out, did you? You and all, he says. You care, lad. Now, I'm not saying as I don't like a pint, don't get me wrong, but I swear I was stone cold sober that night. I know I'd awake and all. Come on, says our Luke, they telled us to get to Bethlehem. Why, says Josh, did yon angel tell you winning number at lottery and all? But our Luke's not there. He set off running down fella, shouts after him, hold up, I says. And I says to Josh, are you coming? I am not, he says. You're a cracked pair on you. Nay, I says. Come on, lad. Special is this. Whatever's coming off, it's one match you don't want to miss, is this. For a moment, I thought he were bound to change his mind. Then he turns his head and gobs onto the ground. I could have said something, but I didn't. And our Luke shouts, come on! So I left our Josh standing there, and I ran down after him. We ran right down to the beck, and out stones, then up Longacre and across to roadside to the... We were still running when we got up to Hunger Hill. Slowed up a bit then, steaming like cat horses pair on us. Well, we stood there, me and our Luke, and he looks at me and I look at him, and we both just burst out laughing. Come on, he says, are you fit? I says, go on. So we start off running again. Old fella like me running like I haven't seen a lad. Did me a power of good, I reckon, 'cause I've not had my twinges since that night. You know, I used to get 'em right bad at cold weather, but since that night... In a road. We come down into the village, and then we had all on, because like I say, it was census night, and being Davidstown, now yon David, he had a lot of bairns than us. Our Luke looks at me, he says, where do we start? We could be anywhere. Right, I says, you watch. Well, I'd formed a plan, do you see? I went out to Black Bull, and Luke says, come on, Gaffer, there's not time for that, says he. But he followed us into Tapoil. Now, he keeps late hours, does Nathan, especially when there's travellers with a bit of brass to spend. And I says to regulars sat at fire nook, I says, just to know where midwife is. Well, that got a laugh, and one of them says, I thought thy missus were past that. Nay, I said, give her. Just to know we're not. Ah, says one of them, if they'd look, they'd not have to ask. And I saw her then, old Martha, sat at end at bar with half a milk stout in her hand. Hast thou been working, lass? I have that, she says. And as bonny a boy bairn as he'd wish to see, and a good strong young mother to bring him into the world and all. Where is he, shouts Luke. You want to ask him, she says, with a face like thunder pointing at landlord. I've telled thee, says Nathan, I've done best I could by him. We're throng, says her. Well, she says, folding her arms together, they're out back at shipping. And then Dewar comes flying up, and Sam of Willie and John's, and Bennett Road, and a couple of three others come in, and I'd not but to look at him to know as they were laking same game as us. Right then, come on, lads. So we gang through back door, all of us round to the back. And there's a lamp burning there at shipping. And this young lass sat nursing a babby. And yon fella stood all proud and humble like with his arm round her shoulders. Well, we all stood at door aisle, see they? Felt a bit awkward like. I hope you don't mind, I says. We've seen an angel, says Luke. Old flock of 'em, says Ben. You know, she just smiled at us. She were a bonny lass. We just wanted to pay his respects, said Sam. And then our Luke knelt down like he would to king or whatever, and we all followed suit, all on us. We're right enough with that. Now, you say, what's particular about all that then? The poor newborn bairn. Ah, well, I can no but say what I know. As in that place, it's shipping it back at Black Bull that night. I could hear yon music again, and there a bit of yon light about all of 'em somehow. There were. And if it's a miracle or something you're wanting, well then, as I stood up to go, I turned round, and there were our Josh stood at back, crying his eyes out like a bairn, and what's more, with a smile on his face and all. That were a miracle, and he would never see him again neither. Come to that, none of us was. None of us. I'm right dry after all that. Are you getting them in or what?